Julian Sparber from the GNOME project and foundation. And his talk will be about what's new in notifications. So, floor is yours.
Yeah, so hi all. How far should I stand? Last year, I think, I worked on improving notifications on a Linux desktop, and it has been a lot of fun. And before I jump into the topic, let's talk a little bit about myself. I worked on GNOME for a long time now, or long time, I mean, we are still young. Maybe like last 5-6 years, mostly to make core apps adaptive. Probably you know me really well because of Fractal, which basically my most famous project, I guess, which is a matrix client, like instant messaging, which I recently, like 2 years ago, I rewrote it from scratch to use GTK4 and to implement end-to-end encryption. And this year I have been part of the STF, the Sovereign Tech Fund grant, let's say, and thanks to that I managed to work on notification stuff. And since the summer I also joined the GNOME Foundation board, which has been an interesting journey and switch for me, honestly, from developing to kind of more organizational role, which is kind of interesting. Maybe I should do a talk at some point about that. So what was the goal of my, my work over the last year? Basically making notifications great, modern, and work as well on the Linux desktop as on other platforms like Android, iOS. I don't know, Windows has now a better notification system as well, I think. I'm not sure, but doesn't matter. But anyhow, to have like the things on the Linux desktop the same way as people would expect it to be. And there was not much improvement in the last 10-15 years probably, and it didn't change much. So those are the main issues we try to solve, is like tie notifications to an application, so users actually know which application shows a notification, because it's sometimes really hard, like you see a notification, yeah, something happened, and you have no idea where that thing came from. Also have a general control over sound notification, which right now on GNOME, generally on the free desktop or Linux desktop, the notification sound is played by the application itself. So it's kind of really weird that the platform can't really control that at all. But also then we have like UI, really nice UI features we are missing, like notification grouping, which is basically two things. Is one, grouping together notifications of the same app, and on the other side also grouping notifications from the same conversation. Like for example, if you have a chat with somebody, you don't want a single notification for every single message, but maybe you want to read the entire conversation as single notification and have updates there, like you used to on Android or iOS. Additionally, also better media support, like we don't have any previews, like maybe even playing an audio file inside the notification, which still needs work and planning around that, obviously. But right now we don't have anything, like not even image preview, which is kind of silly. So how do we get there? Like after 15 years-ish, or let's say 10, it's definitely more than 10, nothing happened, and that like we need a lot of change. So basically it was complicated. Like that's the simple answer. To get started of the current the situation we had, like before I started working was a lot of confusion. We had a lot of different feature sets, and depending on the API an application was using, depending on the platform, like maybe on GNOME or on KDE, or on another desktop environment for Linux, they had a completely different feature set, and generally applications didn't have any idea what to expect. Like there's no consistency. So what I mentioned, one thing is we had different APIs. Those are dbus APIs. So we have the semi-official XGG free desktop notification spec, which is really old and officially never got finalized. But it has a lot of features, which at least on the GNOME desktop, no app was using, because apps were are supposed to use an abstraction which is called GR notification, which basically doesn't expose any of the features the free desktop SDK has, the free desktop notification spec has. Additionally, there is a much simpler private GNOME shell API, and then there's the portal on top, which is like the new fancy way to have a platform API, which I'm gonna get into later, or soon actually. So to showcase a little bit how this looks like is like you can see like the different types of apps use completely different APIs based on reasons, basically. Like it depends on which combination of software you use, and if you're in a sandbox, if you're using Flatpak, or if you use Snap, then you're gonna use the portal, because that's the only way you can use notifications on the system. If you don't, then it depends on if you have GNOME shell, or you have KDE, or I don't know, Awesome. So it's very complex, and I shouldn't lose myself in this diagram. So what was the plan? So the plan was it took a long time to realize actually what the right direction was. But the plan was to invest in the Portal API, which is already, like portals are already the new, like the idea to have a standardized platform API between different desktop environments, which work well with permissioning systems and sandboxes as well. So the only reason to move, the only option to move forward was having an API which works well with features we want, like sandboxing. Additionally, it's fairly easy. It's easy design or simple design. It was fairly easy to extend, where other APIs were never thought to be extended, like the basic features, and that's done. Over the years, they added features, but not really well, because the API didn't foresee that it's going to be extended. So this is the plan for the future. So basically, whatever app you use, you're going to talk to the portal. And then the portal talks to whatever desktop it is. It doesn't matter for an application side, but we need to have a clear developer API or app-facing API, so developers can target our platform, the free desktop or the Linux desktop, call it whatever you want. But we need to standardize that and to make sure that we expose the same feature set to all apps in most cases, or ideally in all cases. Obviously, there's also the gray line, like on macOS. Obviously, we don't control that platform, so we can't do much about it. So what I have been doing is, what I said already, like the features we wanted initially is like tying notification to apps. That's basically already done. Grouping, oh no, this is actually the slide. Sorry, there was a longer talk So I'm missing a lot of things there. Those are actually the things I did not do yet. So we still didn't really tie apps to a notification to a specific app, even though we expose it in the UI, but it's not always the case. Let's jump over that, because there is a long discussion around it, and we changed it multiple times. So the grouping thing, that's still a lot of work, because you need to work out how the API looks like how do you link a multiple notifications, and how are you going to display those. Having large images in the notification body, fairly easy thing to do. It's really easy once you figured out how you want to process or what's the process to extend an API, which was not there before. So the first step was to figure out how to extend it, and now it's child's game to extend even more. One of the major things was also clearing up the undefined behavior, because depending on the API, depending on the set of software you're running on the computer, the behavior is completely different. Like maybe it's gonna play sound, maybe it does not gonna play sound, and that's something we actually halfway did already. So let's talk about the GNOME shell side. I'm running out of time here. So something I added to, this is the GNOME shell side. Everything I said so far was basically free desktop, which also KDE is going to benefit, and other desktop environments. So what I was doing is allow expanding notification in DAR. Not sure if you're using GNOME, but if you open the calendar thing, and then there's a tiny button, and you can expand and you can access the buttons. The larger images in the notification body, we have designs for that all the way, but it's not implemented yet, unfortunately. Grouping by app, was a lot of work. It's not merged yet. I'm not going to show it to you. I have a blog post about it, and then you can see it there. The same with grouping by thread, which I said already before, needs a lot of consideration, because you don't want to add new features and then maybe in 2 months you figure out that it was a stupid idea. Oh, actually, I have the mockups for you. So we have the group, the last one over there, we have the group threading, which is you have the conversation there. In the middle, you have the single a group of notifications sent by the same app. And here on the first side, you just have the notification stack. So if you click the first notification, then you go to, or actually the second one, you go to the expanded group there. I really need to go faster. So what I have been doing in GNOME Shell 46 was cleanups, notification header, what I said before, expanding the drawer, various style improvements, like we improved the buttons, Windows activation, which is actually this thing. I don't know if you ever saw it. There's sometimes if you click a notification, then you see a this notification, which is really annoying, instead of bringing you to the notification, to the app itself. So that was fixed. That was not that hard, but people just didn't have the time to fix it and get actually to look into what the real issues were. So what was the constraints for the new API? Is having backwards compatibility. You don't want to break existing applications, so you want to keep working, keep them functioning. You want to remove the entire the uncertainty around the API definition, to make clear what happens. We didn't want to introduce any new API and have a plan for extending the API, which all of them we tried really hard. I'm gonna jump over this. I'm gonna jump over this. I'm gonna jump over this. Oh yeah. Yeah. My work was funded by SDF. By SDF, the Sovereign Tech Fund, which was really great, and without that I couldn't have been able to work on, like, spend this much time on notifications. I want to thank all those people. I'm not gonna read them because I need to finish. Thanks for your attention.